Hey everyone, my name is Aparna and welcome to my channel. Hope you and your plants are doing great. In this channel we talk all about plants. This is going to be my very first video and hope you enjoy it. Today I'm going to talk about how I take care of my plants in winter, some special things that I do to keep my plants alive in the season. Hope you find it useful as well. Most of us living in the northern hemisphere is right in the middle of winter. I live in Germany and we have pretty strong winters here, strong enough that no plants can be grown outdoors. The extent of winter care really depends on which part of the world you are in. Now that you know where I am, you can scale up or scale down the tips that I'm going to mention in this video according to the weather conditions where you are. Winter care for my plants looks a lot different from my summer care, and this is because this season poses a lot of challenges for growing plants. Mainly they lack in 4 things. The first one is, of course, sunlight. As you might already know, sunlight is essential for plants to grow, to perform photosynthesis, and in winter there is hardly no light available. Here I get about 2 to 3 hours of sunlight per day, and that too not on all days. It really depends on whether it is raining or it is snowing outside. But most of my plants are tropical foliage plants which require 5 to 6 hours of bright indirect light. Here are some things that I do to make sure that my plants receive adequate amount of light. I try to keep my plants in a room where it gets maximum amount of light. Also keep them closer to the windows when the sun is shining but not touching the window pane. I have also taken down all my hanging plants to the ground because I have noticed that the sunlight is hitting at an angle through the window, and if the hanging plants are above this area then they might not receive adequate amount of light. I also make sure to rotate my plants every quarter inch whenever I water my plants. This makes sure that the plant grows uniformly on all sides. Otherwise, you might know already, the plants tend to grow towards the sunlight, and by summer you'll have a plant that is leaning to one side, which is okay for some plants, but not all plants might look pretty. The next thing that you can do is to clean the foliage of the plants and also clean the window panes. This will make sure that the plants can absorb all the light it receives. The next thing that you can do is use grow lights. Since I have quite a number of plants, I decided to invest in Growlight and tell you guys this was the best buy that I have made. My plants are so happy and they are growing very well. I'll make a video about grow lights and what to look for in them before buying. So what I have done in my apartment with my plants is that I've moved all my humidity loving tropical plants, foliage plants, to this shelf, and here the grow light is mounted underneath each rack. The plants underneath will receive ample amount of light, and I keep it running for 10 hours per day. In the living room, which gets medium to bright light even during winters, I've kept my plants which are tolerant to low light. This makes sure that they also get 2-3 hours of bright indirect light in winter. Now, if you don't want to buy a grow light for your plant, then what you can do is move your plants close to a daylight LED bulb. This need not be as strong as grow light, but this will help in increasing the overall brightness or overall ambient light around the plants, and this works and plants get something, which is always better than nothing. I will leave a link to the grow light that I am using in the description box below in case if you want to check that out. Now that we have talked about sunlight, the second essential that is lacking in winter for your plants to grow is humidity. Most of our indoor plants are from the tropical area where the humidity is much higher. Humidity is nothing but the amount of water vapor in the air, and in winter humidity tends to get low. Also, with the heaters on, the air gets much drier, so it is important to increase the humidity for the plants to grow well. For this purpose, I use a humidifier on my plant shelf. I turn it on for around 1 or 2 hours per day. I also have such devices which tells me what the humidity is around my plants. So when I turn the humidifier, I can notice that this percentage increases. So now you can see it is 59 to 60%, which is actually good for your plants. Generally, plants need at least 50% of humidity. Don't go overboard with the humidifier because too much of humidity can lead to the growth of mold in your apartment, which can be pretty bad. Now, if you don't want to invest in a humidifier, I totally understand. There are still methods to increase the humidity around plants. First thing I do is I group my plants together so that they increase the humidity and warmth around them. The plants transpire and create an environment with higher humidity. You can understand this by imagining yourself being in an air-conditioned room alone. You might feel colder than being in the same room with 10 more people. You could also keep your plants on a tray of pebble with water, or keep open jars filled with water close to your plants. So when water evaporates from them, the humidity around the plants tend to increase. One more thing I do to keep my humidity-loving plants like calatheas or ferns happy is to keep them in the kitchen, because humidity is much higher in the kitchen than elsewhere in the apartment. So move your plants to a place in your apartment where the humidity is much higher, like bathroom or kitchen. This will make your plants really happy. The next essential that is required for plants to grow strong and healthy is airflow. In this cold season, when the temperature is below 10 degrees, we turn on our heaters and tend to cozy up inside. And in order to keep our apartments warm, we do not open our windows frequently. And you can literally count the number of times you open windows in the season. This will result in the lack of airflow inside the house. Wind is required to help plants grow strong. This will help to dislodge the pests and also prevent root rot. Both are quite common in winters. I prefer opening the windows on days when sun is shining to get some airflow inside the apartment. But if you cannot do this, you can also turn on the fan facing the plants, and this will help to simulate some wind for them. The next thing that is lacking in winter is the ambient temperature. So it goes without saying that the temperature is low in winter, and it is important to give your plants the ambient temperature that it requires to grow. This point is usually covered as we tend to keep our apartments and houses warm by turning on the heater, at least to keep ourselves warm. And this is also beneficial for the plants as long as the plants are not close to the heater. Also, when you move your plants close to the window in order to give them maximum amount of light, make sure the plants are not too close to the window and their foliage is not touching the window. Because when you touch the window pane with your hand, you can find that it is freezing cold and the plants can suffer under cold. Now let me introduce to a thing that is found in abundance in winter, and they are the pests. I used to think that all animals go in hibernation in winter, so same should be the case with pests and insects, but that is not the case. Actually, winter is a time when I find it more around my plants. Keep a close watch on the leaves of your plants, especially underneath the leaves, because this is where most of the pests are found. So now I have told you what things you should be doing more in winter to take care of your plants. Now let me tell you what you should be doing less in winter so that your plants don't die. First is cut back on watering. So generally all plants go dormant in winter and they don't put out any new growth. So this is when you should be reducing the frequency of watering, because they don't need much water as in summer. So if you used to water your plant once in a week in summer, which is what I used to do, water your plants once in 2 weeks or maybe much less, depending on the needs of your plants. So if your plants are located under Growlight, then they might put out new growth and they might not even notice that it is winter outside. So in that case, you will be needing to water as much as in summer. So it is always a good idea to check the soil before watering. So check the top 2 inches of the soil, whether it is dry, and then water. Or you can use such devices like the moisture meter. This can come really handy in not only in winter but generally for beginners who are getting started with plants, because this really helps to understand the needs of your plants. So I tend to water my plants if I'm using this device when it is in the red part, when it is in the dry zone. Another thing that you should be doing less in winter is fertilizing your plants. So as I mentioned earlier, our plants grow less in winter and they are actually in a dormant period when they don't receive much sunlight. So that means they also do not require much fertilizer, and too much fertilizer can actually damage the roots of your plants. So cut back on fertilizing. What I usually do is I fertilize my plants when I see a new growth on them. Then I know that the plant still wants to grow. But otherwise, I do not fertilize my plants in winter at all. The next thing that you should do less in winter is propagating and repotting your plants. So I would not say that propagation does not work, because I have done it in winter and it was a success, but the time it takes to root is much more than in summer. So wait till spring if you can to propagate and repot your plants. I think I have covered almost all the tips and things that I do to make my plants happy in winter. I also want to stress on the fact that it is common for your plants to shed a few leaves, for the leaves to turn brown or yellow. and also to be attacked by pests, and 1 or 2 of your plants might die in the season. If you need proof, just look outside the window and notice what is happening there. So it is a very difficult time for the plants to grow, so do not stress about that. You can try your best to take care of your plants in winter. The plants will also try from their part, and the rest is upon nature. So appreciate and enjoy the process of taking care of plants rather than stressing on 1 or 2 plants dying, because that is quite normal and there is no one who has not killed a plant. So if you like my video, do give it a like and share it with your friends. This is my first video, so do let me know how you find it. If there is anything to improve or change, let me know so that I can come up with a better video next time. And also I have an Instagram page where I give regular updates on my plants, so do check that out. Link will be in the description box below. See you in another planty video. Take care and bye.